You know what's annoying me about this kid who killed this CEO is none of these news programs are talking about the incredible lack of empathy from the general public about this because of how these insurance companies treat people when they're at their most vulnerable, after we've all given them our money every month, and now we finally need you, and all you do is deny us.
Bill Burr is at it again with another banger of a segment, speaking on the contrast in the reaction to United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson's killing between the general American public and the forces like the legacy media and our elected officials who protect the system that allows CEOs to profit off of limiting access to an essential human right like healthcare.
And then all of these things are taking the pictures of their CEOs off their websites. You know, I got to be honest with you, okay? I love that the fucking CEOs are afraid right now. You should be. By and large, you're all a bunch of selfish, greedy pieces of shit, and a lot of you are mass murderers. You just don't pull the trigger. That's why it looks clean.
No notes. Quite brilliant, actually. As we've said countless times before, vigilante violence is never the solution to the problem and is unjustifiable. However, that sentiment is not incongruent whatsoever with the immoral and reprehensible amount of selfishness, greed, and the wholesale lack of empathy that someone must exhibit in order to rise to the position of a healthcare CEO. They not only advocate for the system they're profiting off of, but they are consciously and actively working to increase the human suffering and death the system relies on through claim denials, price hikes, monopolies, and valuing profit over human life, just to name a few.
I feel like if the motive is what they're saying, it was inevitable. There's only so long that you can go around doing that and treating people that way, in the evil way that they treat people, before somebody's going to retaliate and get the right person or the wrong person, because I don't know anything about that guy. I'm just saying. And it's amazing that story, it isn't amazing. It's expected that it's not going into mainstream media. They're just treating it like, oh my God, it was a cold-blooded murder, and that's it, and they're ignoring the general public's reaction to it. That's what I think is going on, even though I don't watch the news at all.
It's truly a sad and frankly disgusting indictment of our country's legacy media outlets that someone who doesn't watch the news like Burr would be so spot on with his characterization of their response.
And if you're important social policy mission to change healthcare can only get traction because of an assassination, you might want to rethink your political strategy. I am as liberal as the next person, and I find this horrifying because if we are a society who thinks that we can get progressive change only through highlighting, no one quite says it, but, essentially highlighting that there might be a reason for the assassination that isn't somehow justified. We are no longer a civilized society. I really believe that.
While we would argue that America has never been a, quote, civilized society, given the barbarity we've inflicted across the globe and on our own population, framing the public's positive reaction as a failure of the Medicare for All policy is a sneaky way to justify the healthcare industry's for-profit business model and the disastrous outcomes it creates.
I hope we live in a society where, as a woman, if I'm riding the subway by myself, or if one of my girls are, I would hope that there is a guy like Daniel Penny who stands up and protects them. Because we want a society where there are people like that who instinctively protect vulnerable people. That's how it should be, because there's not always going to be a cop there. Daniel Penny, he's the good person. He's the stand-up guy. He's doing what a lot of men feel that they would and should do in that instance. And then you have evil people like that who are lying in wait, who without hesitation take someone's life. And, we don't know what the motivation is for that, but we know it exists. And maybe someone like that sees the vulnerabilities in the New York criminal justice system and feels like they're not going to get charged, they're not going to get caught. And that's terrifying.
Kennedy's words speak for themselves and show exactly where the intentions and motivations of Fox News lie. And now that the alleged shooter has been caught and identified as Luigi Mangione, and Daniel Penny's case is ended, Fox really kicked their rhetoric into overdrive.
The Instagram posts from nutbag people, which I was sent in the commercial break earlier, crazy. Like, he's cute. And people celebrating this. This is a sickness. Honestly, it's so disappointing. But I guess we shouldn't be surprised. Gentlemen, thank you so much. And up next, the other big news out of New York, Daniel Penny. A lot of people think he's a hero. And tonight, he's not guilty. My take next.
You can't make it up. Laura Ingraham, a shameless hack who gets paid millions upon millions of dollars to spread lies to gullible people. And nothing shows that clearer than consciously refusing to engage with the reality of why the public is responding the way it is. Pent-up fury with the people getting rich off of the death and suffering of our families, neighbors, friends, etc. Denying reality and omitting it from your broadcast doesn't change this fact. But Fox News cares more about feelings than facts.
This young guy right here, if indeed he's the person, and they prosecute him, I hope he gets a death penalty. I hope he's prosecuted to the fullest extent.
We don't have the death penalty in New York.
Well, maybe you can get him to get in there. You and Trump can figure something out.
I did it the first time in New York.
This guy's not ready. He's way too soft. He's going to get annihilated on the inside, and good. If he's not going to get the death penalty, maybe someone will do him justice behind bars. That's all I have to say about that.
You should stop there.
Right? People say that a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
The irony of clutching your pearls and licking the boots of multi-millionaires and billionaire CEOs who live lives completely detached from the reality that the vast majority of us experience by calling for Luigi to be sentenced to death or killed in prison is a perfect encapsulation of everything the right represents. Violence that benefits their ideology is justified and promoted. Oligarchs are never wrong and should be revered as gods, and populist outrage is never justified.
If you're on the American left tonight, here's my chart. The good guys today, Daniel Penny. The bad guys, Luigi Mangione. It seems to me.
How do you?
Everybody
what's
on the
the
left,
chart for victims?
I'm just telling you what I see out in the world.
I know.
What
I just want you to finish the chart. Which victim is good and which victim is bad.
What I'm telling you is
that's not on the second page.
People on the left can't seem to tell the difference between the good guys and the bad guys.
People on the left. I'm asking you whether you consider this person.
We had people praising Luigi.
I want to know whether you think that as Congress.
CNN's representative of MAGA, Scott Jennings, really thought he was cooking here by insulting the audience's intelligence with this pathetic stunt that deliberately eliminates any nuance and debate about both cases.
But some attention in this case, especially online, has been deeply disturbing, as some have looked to celebrate instead of condemning this killer. In America, we do not kill people in cold blood to resolve policy differences or express a viewpoint.
Is that so, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro? Because signaling a U.S.-made bomb, regardless of where it's going and who it's targeting, is being as charitable as possible here. Horrible optics, and at worst, a justification for the blood of our country that has been spilled to satisfy our imperialist motivations and mission to impose our political views on the world. We've already seen how Shapiro views the ongoing genocide of the Palestinian people at the hands of the Israeli government and military. So even though this bomb was signed in support of Ukraine's defense against the Russian invasion, a far more justifiable position than supporting the Israeli state, it's clear that Shapiro is invested in upholding the status quo and the same attitudes that turn voters off from the Dem party and will continue to do so unless he and the rest of the Dem establishment recognizes that fixing our broken healthcare system is not a partisan issue, but an inherently class issue. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.